Hello and welcome to EVA India Insights podcast, where we bring you expert perspectives on trends shaping businesses, industries, and the world at large. I'm your host Pallavi, and in today's episode, we are exploring one of the most complex areas in the digital landscape: AI security. As artificial intelligence transforms the way we work, connect, and grow, it also introduces new dimension of risk that organizations must understand and manage effectively. Joining me for this insightful conversation is Mini Gupta, partner and national leader for data privacy and data protection and cybersecurity consulting at EY India. Mini brings over 20 years of experience in technology risk management and cybersecurity and leads cyber transformation initiatives across India, Africa, and the Middle East. Mini, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Pallavi. Pleasure is all mine.
We need to start off with a very basic question. So, what are the top AI security risks organizations face today, including vulnerabilities in AI models? And how can companies safeguard these systems throughout their life cycle while balancing innovation with ethical AI practices and robust governance?
Right. So Pallavi, if you look at it today, some of the top AI security risks include threats to both the data as well as the models themselves. So one major concern, in fact, is adversarial attacks, where slight changes to inputs, sometimes even imperceptible ones, can cause AI models to make incorrect or even dangerous decisions. Think of something as simple as modifying a stop sign image, and suddenly the model thinks it's a speed limit sign. So then there's data poisoning, where attackers tamper with the training data, so the model learns something wrong from the very beginning. Right? It's all about what it's learning. So if that is tampered, that in itself the foundational gets impacted. Then that's especially risky in systems that retain automatically or retrain automatically on new data. We are also seeing more model inversion and model extraction attacks, where adversaries can reconstruct private training data or steal the model's functionality just by interacting with it, which is a huge risk in itself if you're working with proprietary models or sensitive information. And we know with more advanced AI integrations that we've had with some of the leading AI agents, we do have newer threats around, say, a zero-click vulnerability that allows attackers to access sensitive data without any user interaction at all. So these risks are evolving, and obviously they are evolving fast, and security has to keep up with this. So Pallavi, the second part to your question was, how do you protect against all of this? So it really takes a full life cycle approach. You can't just secure the AI at the deployment stage. It starts at the design phase itself, where we need to ensure that there is a usage of secure, well curated data sets, validating the model assumptions, and performing adversarial and red team testing before go live. So it's the whole life cycle that needs to be looked at. Now, once deployed, strong access controls and ongoing monitoring, as well as audit logging, becomes essential as well. And you want to be able to detect and respond to unusual behavior quickly, whether it's from users, systems, or the model itself. So, monitoring for model drift and updating controls over time is also key. At the same time, companies need to balance innovation with obviously what we're seeing come up big time around AI governance and ethics, which essentially means that organizations need to have things like responsible AI practices, policies, frameworks in place. There should be clear documentation about how these models are being trained, what data are they using, and where are their limits, as well as looking at transparent processes and AI governance boards that review high impact use cases. All in all, it needs to be a culture that encourages cross functional collaboration between the various stakeholders throughout the life cycle. So, whether it's your data scientists, security teams, legal teams, ethic leads, it's really about ensuring collaboration of all of them along with my developer ecosystem. And let's, of course, not forget the people side ongoing training for teams is also critical so that everyone understands both the potential of AI as well as the risks associated to the AI tools that they're working with. So, in short, AI security isn't just a technical challenge, it's a question of trust, accountability, and resilience. And the organizations that will lead in this space are the ones who can innovate confidently while embedding safety, ethics, and governance into everything they build.
Thank you, Minnie. Now, moving on to very industry specific questions. As you know, AI security threats varies to different industries. So, how are industries like healthcare, finance, telecom, retail, public services, and manufacturing uniquely impacted by these threats? And what are the steps that they can take to stay ahead of these kind of risks?
Right. So the reality is AI security, it's not like a one size fits all issue. Every industry is adopting AI in different ways, which also means that each one could be having its own set of unique risks, own sets of attack surfaces, and of course, combined with regulatory pressures as well, right? Because there are sectors which are regulated versus not. Maybe let's break it down with some examples across sectors. If you look at healthcare, AI is being used for diagnostics, patient monitoring, and even treatment recommendations in some cases. Now, that's incredibly powerful, but also high risk. If there is a manipulated input or a poisoned training data set, which could lead to misdiagnosis or even providing incorrect treatment suggestions. To add to that, the sensitivity of health data and the threat model inversion or data leakage then becomes a serious concern, right? So those that kind of increases the risk altogether. Similarly, if you look at it in the financial services sector, AI drives fraud detection, possibly credit decisions, even trading algorithms. Now, these systems are prime targets for manipulation, whether it's around extracting model logic to game the system or injecting bias that affects loan approvals. So, when financial decisions go wrong, the ripple effects, of course, are immediate and expensive. So, these again add to the overall risks associated with the sector. Now, if you take another example around telecom, the telcos use AI to optimize network or possibly to detect outages or even in terms of enhancing customer experience. But if you look at it from a risk point of view, attackers could potentially disrupt, most of the services by targeting AI models, say used for traffic routing or load balancing, which has an impact beyond because it's all consumer impact. So this could result in real world downtime as well as communication blackouts as well. So or if you look at this, all these sectors are impacting individuals or consumers at large as well. And hence, any risk associated with the usage of AI has a much larger impact given the volume of consumers that they're dealing with. Similarly, when you look at retail, AI powers recommendations, inventory management, dynamic pricing. Now, but this also opens the door to algorithm manipulation, like users gaming pricing engines or influencing product visibility that can impact revenue or favor one against the other, and obviously impacting the brand trust eventually. On the other hand, if you look at public services and government agencies, now they're trying to use AI for everything from benefits eligibility to even predictive policing. Now, these are deeply tied to public trust and fairness. So, if an AI model is biased or compromised, it could lead to people being unjustly denied access to essential services, or, worst case, being targeted unfairly as well. So, much far reaching impact in that case. And finally, if you look at manufacturing, AI plays a big role in elements such as robotics or even predictive maintenance, supply chain forecasting. Now, a compromised AI system here could potentially disrupt production lines, damage equipments, or in fact even create a risk to physical health and safety. So each of these sectors that you talked about, Pallavi, could have a much far-reaching impact in the case of any risks associated with AI. So what can our organizations really do to stay ahead? Like I said, it starts with the full cycle approach. So they need to ensure that the entire data pipeline is secure, which means validating sources, detecting poisoning, and using, of course, privacy preserving techniques like differential privacy becomes critical. Again, elements around adversarial testing, red teaming, right from the start is essential. It shouldn't really be an afterthought. And investing in explainability and transparency, especially in high impact sectors like we talked about, whether it's financial services, healthcare, public services, is again extremely important. So, embedding AI governance structures, including ethics reviews, cross functional oversight, overall AI security, and a clear escalation path for risks become extremely important.
Thank you, Minnie, for sharing such a detailed input, specifically with examples to the sectors. Now, looking ahead to the future, how do you see AI security evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? And what are the emerging technologies or global regulations that could shape the strategies to mitigate these vulnerabilities?
Right. So, if you look at it, say, over the next 3 to 5 to maybe 7 years, I think we're going to see AI security shift from being a niche concern to a core pillar of cybersecurity strategy for most organizations there, with identity, network, and cloud security. So it's not something which is an afterthought, but as I see, and more increasingly, there is been a shift to the mindset to say, how do we ensure that we're looking at AI risk proactively, we're looking at AI security evolve, and of course, look at it being part of the overall life cycle. So, first thing first, AI, of course, is going to get more embedded, not just in regular, individuals using various tools and utilities, but also embedded in critical infrastructure, powering decisions in various sectors, like we talked about, whether it's a healthcare, energy grids, power utilities, financial services, defense, you name it, right? So, it could be seeing usability, applicability across sectors, which means the consequences of AI being attacked or manipulated are going to be much higher stakes. We'll likely see a rise in AI targeted cyber attacks, everything from model poisoning to prompt engineering, model theft, or zero click vulnerabilities as well. So, and we are seeing, in fact, now attacks are being powered by AI as well. So, it's not just AI models being attacked, but AI being used to build some of those very sophisticated cyber attacks as well. At the same time, AI systems are getting more autonomous. So, as we move from narrow AI tools to AI agents that make decisions and take actions in real time, the attack surface expands. So, we'll need new ways to validate, monitor, and constrain autonomous behavior, not just detect problems after the fact. So, how do I see this evolve? Basically, see a few major shifts. One is probably built-in AI security, which means, right now, if you look at it, AI security is often bolted on after deployment. In the future, I would assume that security will be baked in from the model development stage, with tools that can simulate attacks, test model robustness, and verify data integrity as well, much like a DevSecOps that we have, but for AI/ML. Then, obviously, the other shift, in fact, that's something that's already happening, is AI to defend AI. Now, or ironically, some of the best defenses may come from AI itself. We'll see more use of AI driven threat detection to catch subtle attacks against other AI systems, spotting these various adversarial inputs, model drift, or even unusual query behavior in real time. The third shift could be formal verification for AI. So, just like we use formal methods to prove properties in safe critical code, we'll start to see efforts to mathematically verify that AI systems behave within safe bounds, especially in things like autonomous vehicles or healthcare robotics. So, that could be another shift. And one more that we talk about could be AI supply chain security. So, as models become more complex and collaborative, we'll see a focus on the AI supply chain, ensuring that training data, pre-trained models, and even third-party APIs, they haven't been really tampered with. So there is security around that. And think of it like software bill of materials, the SBOM, but for AIML again. So these are some shifts that we're expecting. Of course, one of the major drivers could also be regulations. So globally, we're already seeing groundwork being laid with the EU AI Act, which is pushing hard on risk classification, transparency, and post-market monitoring. And in the US, of course, we've got the NIST AI risk management framework. And even countries like our own country, like India and of course Singapore, are developing sector-specific AI guidelines. So while we're looking at security related shift, there is also regulatory related shifts that are happening, which will see a big impact. So AI security, net will become a lot more proactive, continuous, inline, and regulated. And the companies that thrive will be the ones who just don't wait for problems, but build secure, explainable, and resilient AI right from the start.
Thank you, Winnie. Now, moving on to a very specific question for leadership teams and decision makers. According to you, what are the key priorities that CXOs must focus when designing a particular AI security framework? And how can organizations cultivate a, a culture that is centered on AI safety and risk awareness?
Right. So getting AI security right, it's obviously not just about tools and tech, but like you said, it has to be a culture. So if you look at it from then there has to be a top-down push. So if I were to look at it from a senior leadership point of view, they need to start asking the why and align with business risk. So AI, it's not just fad or something that you want to bring in without really realizing what's the benefit. So while it's driving real business decisions, CXOs also need to tie AI security directly to business risk, whether that could be a reputational damage from a biased model, or it could be a financial loss from a manipulated trading algorithm, or even regulatory penalties from, say, a regulation or a privacy breach. So the framework should focus on securing the use of AI in business critical processes, and not just the models themselves. So first thing first, link it to business risk, right? And then we will see a lot more value. Then, of course, take a full life cycle view. So, too often organizations focus only on model deployment, but vulnerabilities can creep it at every stage, like we've talked about. So, obviously, look at it from right from the beginning to the end. So, the whole life cycle needs to be looked at. So, whether it's data sourcing, model development, deployment, ongoing evaluation, whatever it is, look at the entire life cycle. Third, build governance into the process, not around it, right? So make it more inline, which really means that they need to have clear roles, should have clear responsibilities defined, the escalation path should be clear, and review the points embedded into the AI pipeline. Right? So all of these things, so whether it's an AI governance board or AI risk register or automated checkpoints, CXOs need to ensure that security isn't a gatekeeper, but it is really a partner in line with what we're doing with our business processes. Then, what CXOs could look at are probably looking at emphasizing on explainability and traceability. So they could prioritize transparency by design, not just to meet regulatory expectations, but to genuinely build trust and, in fact, in a way, differentiate themselves from the others. So this includes model documentation, decision logs, clear ownership. When something goes wrong, if it would, the ability to trace what happened is also very critical. The next thing that CXO should probably focus on is the third party risks, right? So that's something that they should not forget, because many organizations are now relying on external models or external data sets or integration points. So that's where the AI supply chain, uh, just like with software, needs to be vetted, monitored, and governed. So procurement processes should now include AI risk checks as well, not just financial or technical diligences. Now, on to the culture. How do we build the culture around AI safety and risk awareness? So, like you rightly said, it starts with the mindset. So, the tone from the top definitely matters. So, if leadership treats AI safety as optional or just an engineering problem, that is what the organization will adopt. But if it's seen as a shared responsibility across the board, then it obviously becomes a part of the company's DNA. So some few ways of reinforcing could include possibly elements such as cross-functional education. So run regular sessions to help teams understand not just how AI works, but even how it can fail and what that means for the business. Second, they could look at celebrating responsible AI wins. So when teams catch an issue early or make a trade-off in favor of safety, then recognize it. Don't discourage AI risk identification, but in fact, make it a success. Make responsibility part of the innovation story as well. Third could be create space for questioning. So, encourage teams to raise concerns about how a model is trained or used without fear of slowing things down or being labeled as anti AI. So, this is really not anti AI or anti innovation, but it is something that it's a culture that can help identify risks that may go unnoticed otherwise. And of course, build in security at all points in time, but make red teaming and scenario planning routine, which means treat it like fire drills. Ask what if someone tried to game this model, or build scenarios and simulations wherein users could learn from what they are facing. So what if they were face going through a prompt engineering kind of an attack? What if they were going through some sort of responses which had bias in it? What if this model makes a wrong call? So get people thinking, beyond the regular, but teach them through simulation. So for CXOs, priorities are clear: align AI security with business risk, build security into the life cycle, and lead a culture that values trust over speed. Because in the age of AI, how you build is just as important as what you build.
Minnie, thank you for joining us and being part of this insightful conversation.
Thank you so much, Pallavi.
Yeah. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in for today's EVA India Insights podcast episode. To hear from more from our experts, don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with EY. Until next time, stay informed and stay secure. This is Pallavi signing off.